In the last video, we used our midpoint formula in a little bit of a different way. In examples 3 and 4, we're going to use distance formula in somewhat of a different way. So example 3 says find all the points having an x coordinate of 3 whose distance from the point -2, -1 is 13. So whose distance? My distance is going to be 13. It doesn't matter if you call this point 1 or point 2, but if I call this point 1, this is my x1, y1. And we say, and it says find all points having an x coordinate of 3. That means I have half of an ordered pair right here. So this means we have 3, comma, I don't know what my y is. That's what that right there is referring to. So if I call this point 2, this is x2, y2. So I have distance, I have my first point, I have my second point. So let me write our formula. And then once everything is labeled and I have my formula, it is just substitution. So distance is 13. X2 is 3. X1 is a -2. So minus a -2 becomes +2. Y2, I don't know, so that's just y, minus y1, which is a -1. So minus a negative becomes another plus. So now we need to work this out, but essentially we're going to solve for y. So I'm going to have 13 equals 3 plus 2 is 5, and 5 squared is 25, plus, what is this right here? So if I bring this off to the side, y plus 1 squared, that is not y squared plus 1. Don't just distribute that 2 in. This is y plus 1 times y plus 1. So when I FOIL, y times y is y squared. Y times 1 is y. 1 times y is y. And 1 plus 1 is 1. When I combined my like terms, I get y squared plus 2y plus 1. I now have like terms under my radical. We have 25 and 1. So I'm going to combine those. I'm also going to put this in descending order. So we have the square root of y squared plus 2y plus 26. Okay, so now I need to get rid of this radical since what I need to solve is under my radical. So the opposite of a square root is to square. And what I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. So 13 squared gives me 169. And now that radical and square cancel out, so I'm just left with what's under that radical. And now we have a quadratic. So I need to get everything to one side. So I will subtract 169 over to get 0 equals y squared plus 2y minus 143. So now let's try factoring. It's an easy trinomial. My a times c is -143. My b is 2. What adds up to b but multiplies to ac? I'm going to take a drink while you guys pause to try to fill that in yourself. Okay. So if you paused and played around with that to try to get those numbers. we should have got 13 and -11. So this factors to y plus 13 and y minus 11. So I'm running out of room here, but what this one tells me is that y equals -13. And this one here gets me that y equals 11. So now to go back and answer the question, find all points having an x-coordinate of 3. I have found 2 of them right here. So we have 3, -13, and 3, 11. So we have 2 points on our grid that have an x-coordinate of 3 and a distance of 13 from this point right here. Continuing on, we're going to go to example 4. And example 4 says a Dodge Focus. Nope, it doesn't. Example 4 says a Ford Focus and a Dodge pickup truck leave an intersection at the same time. The Focus heads east at an average speed of 60 miles per hour, while the Dodge truck heads south at an average speed of 45 miles per hour. Find an expression for their distance apart, d in miles, at the end of t hours. So let's just kind of draw a rough sketch of this real quick so we can visualize what we have. This is my intersection. And this is my north, east, south, and a very janky west. Let me try to fix this. Okay. So one thing we need for this one is our formula for distance. And I'm not talking about distance on a coordinate plane, but distance traveled. And distance equals rate times time. So it says my focus heads east. So at least it's not, northeast or southeast. It is just straight east at an average speed of 60 miles per hour. 60 miles per hour is a rate. Okay, so I have my rate, but I don't know my time. So if this focus is going to the east, and I'll even put F because that's my focus. That ordered pair would then be 60t, 0. Going 60t this direction, 0 north or south. And so what this tells me is after 1 hour, it's traveled 60 miles. After 2 hours, it's drove 120. After 3, it's done 180 miles. Whatever that t is, I'm plugging it in, and that's the distance, how far it has gone. Then it goes on to say, while the Dodge truck heads south, and again, luckily it's not southeast or southwest, it's just straight south. So this is my Dodge truck. And it goes at an average speed of 45 miles per hour. So there is its rate. So this ordered pair will be 0, 45t. It's going 0 east or west, but it is going 45 t miles south. And so this one means after 1 hour, it's gone 45 miles. After 2 hours, it's gone 90 miles, and so on. You can make this as a -45 if you want. It doesn't actually change this problem whatsoever. But typically, distance is always positive. And so I'm going to go in a rate that's positive as well. So what we are trying to find now, find the expression for the distance apart, d in miles. So at any time can I find this distance right here? So, distance formula. If I write my formula real quick, I'm going to label my ordered pairs. It doesn't matter which one you call P1 or P2. So we'll go P1 is X1, Y1, P2 is X2, Y2. Now we can substitute all of this in. X2 is 0 minus 60t squared plus Y2 is 45t minus Y1 of 0. Okay, 0 minus negative or minus 60t is negative 60t squared. 45t minus nothing is 45t squared. And now I'm going to square those. We get 3,600 t squared. Okay, if you put in negative 60 in parentheses squared, you get 3,600. And then t squared is t squared. 45 squared is 2,025. And then we are squaring the t as well. So t squared. Now we have like terms. They both have a t squared on them. So 3,600 plus 2,025 gives me 5,625 t squared. And I find the calculator here. That is a perfect square of 75. So my distance equals 75. Notice when I put in the square root of 5,625, it doesn't say the square root of 25, right? It's just 75. So this isn't square root 75. It's 75. And then the square root of t squared is t. So find an expression. Find an expression. An expression doesn't have an equals. So here is my expression. If it said find the equation, we would want d equals as part of our answer. But this is my expression. So my expression for distance is 75t. So that means after 1 hour, they're 75 miles apart. After 2 hours, they're 150 miles apart. After 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, we can keep going and find that distance between the two as they keep going, and that gets wider and wider.